I didn't think that day would change anything. To me, it was just another opportunity, another location, another video, something to post and chase views with, because that was all my life had become. Noise, content, distraction. I had no idea I was walking straight into someone else's nightmare. I found her in a house that didn't feel alive anymore. A place that still looked rich and complete on the outside but felt empty in a way I couldn't explain. She was lying there weak and barely moving, and at first I didn't even understand what I was seeing. I thought maybe she was just sick. I didn't know she had already lost everything. Her name was Jemimah, and even before I fully understood her story, I could feel the weight of it. The silence around her wasn't normal. It was heavy, like something had already gone terribly wrong and nobody cared enough to fix it. I stayed, and even now I can't fully explain why. Maybe it started as curiosity or guilt, but the more I listened, the harder it became to walk away. She told me about her life, about how she had been abandoned as a baby and taken to an orphanage where survival meant learning how to be strong before you even understood what pain was. She spoke about it like it was normal, like being thrown away was just another part of her story, and that alone was enough to stay with me. Then she talked about Douglas, the only man who had ever made her feel safe, the only person who treated her like she mattered. For the first time in her life, she didn't have to fight to survive or pretend to be strong every second. She finally had someone who protected her, and then just like that he was gone. One moment she had a future, and the next she was completely alone again. What broke me wasn't just his death, it was what came after. Because they didn't mourn him and they didn't comfort her, they blamed her. They called her a killer, a witch, an outsider who brought death into their home. And they did it without proof, without evidence, just suspicion and the fact that she had nobody to defend her. They locked her in that house for 30 days, forcing her into isolation, sickness, grief and fear. Not because she was guilty, but because tradition said she had to suffer. And the worst part was that while she was still crying over him, they were already planning what to take from her, his houses, his property, his life, like she didn't matter at all. I wish I could say I stepped in immediately, but I didn't, because at first I was still thinking like the same person I had always been. I was still filming, still talking, still pretending this was just another situation I could walk away from. But she didn't let me stay that person. She looked at me and saw through everything, the fake confidence, the accents, the excuses, and she didn't care about any of it. She told me the truth, that my father had suffered for me, that I had been given chances and wasted them, that I was running from responsibility while pretending I was chasing something bigger, and it hit harder than anything my father had ever said. Something started to change in me after that, because I stopped seeing her as just someone in trouble and started seeing her as someone who had survived more than I ever had and was still standing even when everything around her was trying to break her. I tried to get her out. I brought money and a phone and made a plan to send her away, believing that if she could just leave, everything would be okay. But I underestimated them. They were watching and waiting. She was caught before she could escape, and in that moment I realized something I couldn't ignore, that if I walked away, I wouldn't just be leaving her, I would be becoming part of the same silence that was destroying her. So I stayed. The final day came and they brought her out in front of everyone, weak, tired, and still grieving, and they stood there calling her a murderer like it was already decided. Something inside me snapped, and I stepped forward, not as the guy chasing views or the disappointment my father saw, but as someone who finally understood what mattered. I asked them where their proof was, and they had none, only fear, assumptions, and tradition. I told them the truth they didn't want to hear, that people die suddenly, that illness exists, that blaming her didn't make them right. It made them cruel. And then I said what they really didn't want anyone to know, that this was never about justice, it was about greed. I exposed them and made sure the whole world could see it, and at first they resisted. But something shifted in the crowd. People started listening, thinking, questioning, and for the first time, she wasn't alone. Then the truth came, the kind no one could argue with. Douglas didn't die because of her. He died of a heart attack. And just like that, everything they said about her collapsed. Every accusation, every insult, all of it was wrong. But the damage didn't disappear with the truth. What surprised me the most was her, because after everything she had been through, the pain, the humiliation, the injustice, she didn't choose revenge, she chose kindness. When she was told the property belonged to her, she gave it away to people who needed it, to children who were once like her. And that was when I realized she was stronger than all of us. I couldn't go back to who I used to be after that, because she changed something in me. She made me see my father differently and made me see my life differently. So I made a choice. I went back to medicine, back to purpose, back to becoming someone my father could finally be proud of. Somewhere along the way, we found something we weren't even looking for: each other. And the strange part is that we had met before as children. Two lives crossing for a brief moment neither of us remembered, but somehow life remembered for us. Now I am Dr. Owen, and she is no longer just someone who survived. She is someone who inspires, someone who tells stories that make people feel seen, and the child we are about to bring into this world will carry the name of the man who unknowingly brought us together, Douglas, because sometimes out of pain comes purpose, out of loss comes love, and out of silence comes a voice strong enough to change everything. And that's the part most people don't understand. Sometimes, the people who go through the worst pain end up becoming the reason others survive. Jemimah lost everything, but still chose kindness. Owen was lost, but finally found purpose. And maybe the real question is this: what would you have done if you were in his position? Tell me in the comments, and if you enjoy stories like this, stories that actually mean something, then subscribe, because the next one might change the way you see everything. Click here to watch the next story.